Hello and welcome to another inspiring episode of Tech Talks with IEEE Canada. Stories that inspire change. I am Dr. Inderpreet, we podcast lead for IEEE Canada, and I am delighted to be your host. This podcast is a unique initiative of IEEE Canada created to celebrate exceptional professionals whose journeys, leadership, and innovation are creating meaningful impact across engineering, technology, education, and society. Through these conversations, our goal is simple to inspire students, young professionals, researchers, educators, and future leaders by sharing authentic stories, valuable lessons, and experiences from distinguished professionals across the globe. Our theme, Tech Professionals, Bold Journeys, Real Impact, reminds us that behind every technological advancement is a leader whose vision, commitment help shape a better future. So, before we begin, I would like to respectfully acknowledge that I am joining from Toronto, Ontario, which is situated on the traditional territories of many Indigenous peoples, including the Mississaugas of Credit, Anishinaabe, Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nation, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We are grateful for the opportunity to live, learn, and work on these lands, and we recognize the importance of reconciliation through education, inclusion, and meaningful collaboration. Before I introduce our guest, I would like to share a personal note. Today's episode is particularly special for me. As a mentee, it's both a privilege and humbling experience to host someone I deeply respect as a mentor. Dr. Tom Murad has inspired countless professionals through his leadership, vision, and unwavering commitment to engineering excellence. It's truly an honor to welcome him for our podcast today. So, today it's my distinct honor and privilege to welcome an exceptional engineering leader, educator, innovator, and a long-time IEEE volunteer, Dr. Tom Murad. Welcome to Tech Talks with IEEE We Canada. Today's topic of the broadcast with you is From Vision to Impact Leadership Lessons, Innovations, and Power of IEEE. Welcome, Tom.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Tom, you served as 2020 from 2024 to 2025 IEEE Canada President and Regional 7 Director, providing visionary leadership of one of the world's largest professional engineering community, that is IEEE. Tom is a respectable technology leader, award winning educator, distinguished speaker, and a proud member of Engineering Order of Honor Professional Engineers Ontario. Throughout his remarkable career, Tom has championed innovation in engineering, Industry 4.0, Industry 5.0, digital transformation, smart infrastructure, mechatronics, technical education, and workforce development. During his tenure at Siemens Canada, he founded the award winning Siemens Engineering and Technology Academy and an internationally renowned Siemens Mechatronics System Certification Program initiative that has transformed engineering education and talent development. His dedication to empowering future engineers, advancing technology has inspired countless professionals across Canada and around the world. It's truly an honor to have you us with today. So, Tom, you have an extraordinary career spanning from academia, industry, research, and now global volunteer leadership within IEEE and many other professional organizations. So, looking back on your journey, what experiences or defining moments most shaped your leadership philosophy and inspired your commitment to creating meaningful impact?
Yeah, in fact, I probably have shared that before. in some of my presentations and speeches, I'm so proud to be a third generation engineer. I grew up in an engineering home, and that where engineering became my destiny. I didn't have a choice. I'm a son of an engineer, a grandson of an engineer. I grew up with in a house with full of engineers, and also I grew up. I worked for my dad since I was 7, 8 years old in the Middle East, and think my dad was an engineer and a contractor, and we had our own workshops and so on. And so I lived with engineering components and systems and so on even before I became an engineer professionally. But more without getting into the technicality, because technology, as we all know, changes with time. When I talk about technology today was different from what I learned in my dad's company.
Mm,
But what I learned from my dad that lasted with me along the years is to care and respect people
mm,
wherever they are in the hierarchy, because
mm,
everybody in the hierarchy have a job to do and have a responsibility. And if you have a successful business or a successful organization,
mm,
then you have to give the opportunity to everybody to do their job in the best way possible, so the team will, or the company or the organization would do their job in the best possible way and for the benefit of all, not for the benefit of the owners. And those are the values that my family and my dad specifically built in me, is to care. And I would say care more than manage, because when you care with people and consider them as member of your family,
mm,
then you have no expectation but successful life and successful future. And I have implemented that in all my life, in anywhere I went, in any continent I worked or lived or so, and or studied, and it always worked. It's a global recipe. Believe it or not, people are the reason for success, and unfortunately, sometimes they can be the reason for failure if we don't have that dynamic approach.
mm. Tom, thank you for sharing your inspirational journey, especially engineering in your genes. So it is fascinating to hear how each experience contribute to the leader you are today. So every impactful leader encounters moments that require courage, that require conviction. So could you share a bold decision or a challenging leadership moment that significantly influenced your career, and what lessons it taught you about leading through uncertainty and change?
I think it's part of my personality. I like challenges. Okay, and and even until at this stage of my life, uh, uh, my family always joke with me and say, if there's no challenge, life becomes boring for you. My answer always is, because I'm an engineer, and engineers deal with problems, and we enjoy solving problems, and that's my definition of engineering. And if everything goes um normal and nice and going, there will be no engineering, there will be no innovation, there will be no change. And that, as you said, it's part of my genes. And I made lots of bold decisions in my life that where everybody said that you are like a kamikaze. You are jumping and on decisions without thinking about it. They don't know that I have thought about it so thoroughly,
Mhm.
although in time wise it didn't look like it. But and one of those decisions, I decided to leave my country and my home and so on, and went to do my doctorate in Britain in the 80s, where I had a very stable life. I had a very uh, and for my age at the time, it was an executive position that I left to go and do my studies and be a student at 24. And I got my PhD at 28, and came back. And soon after, when I didn't see life good for me and my family, I made a bigger decision, and I migrated to leave my home country again, and,
Oh,
and go and be professor in another country, and then ended up in Canada, starting up again from the beginning. But I've never feared that. I've never feared change. I've never feared it. It shakes you sometimes, but if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. So uh, one of the biggest example that I'm proud of is I was working for a company in the early 2000s, and
Mhm.
I was in I was not the top leader. I was in a way a number two of the company, and that company was losing money all its life, and I knew what it is. But the leader above me was not an engineer; he was more a business guy. And
Mhm.
then suddenly, the owners of the company decided that to let that guy go, and they said we cannot take any losses anymore. And they said, Tom, you are going to be taking over the company. Until then, I was an engineer and a researcher and an innovator. I didn't have anything to do with business, although I had a VP role. But
Mhm.
the challenge they put me on, they said, if you don't take this job, then we
Mhm.
are going to close the company and
Oh.
let everybody go, and we move you to the head office, because there was a head office that was an arm of a bigger company.
Mhm.
And to be honest, I didn't sleep all that weekend
Oh.
until Monday, and then went in and I took over the company. It was probably the hardest year for me, reform, because they pretty much let everybody go on the top level, my level and above, and they put me on the spot. That company, because I depend on people and I have an advantage of relying on my young engineering team,
Mhm.
those engineering team became the leadership of that company. And for 5 consecutive years, we were tripling the revenue of the company because we believed in engineering. Uh, but again, I didn't know anything about business. Now people tell me, Tom, you are a businessman. But again, engineers, in my opinion, they can do anything and everything under the laws of physics when they are pushed to do those. Okay. And of course, there's lots. And until today, and now I am officially retired from any official position. Uh, there's always challenges that you see every day. There is always, and you have to make decisions all the time. And if you are not trained to make in the decision making process, then you are not going to be in the right direction.
Wow. Tom, that's a powerful leadership lesson, and it reminds us that meaningful growth often begins when we step out of our comfort zone and ready to take challenge. And you truly said that taking problems, we can like considering problem as an engineer, not as problem, but as an opportunity, as a
That's
challenge.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Tom, innovation is often measured as technological advancements, but lasting innovation improves lives. So, from your perspective, what distinguish innovation that creates real and sustainable impact from innovation that simply follows the trends?
Again, we go to the same thing. It's innovation by itself. It's an capability of doing things in the right time, in the right opportunities, and lots of people who have studied certain discipline or did research in it, and if they have the capability to be innovative, they can make innovation. And as you know, there's thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people who claim to be innovators, doing their PhDs and masters and postdoctorate all over the world. The secret word is how much that innovation impacts people.
Mm-hmm.
With all these innovations that we have in our life, okay, now we identify our century, or last at least the last century, okay, in four different industrial revolutions: industry 1.0, industry 2.0, industry 3.0, industry 4.0. What makes those industries the milestones of the humankind journey? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's they change our life dramatically. There were innovations, maybe single innovation or multiple innovations at the same time, that changed the face of the world. Industry 1.0 was when, like, I related to the mechanical engineering aspect, the steam engine. Industry 2.0 is the innovation of electricity, of the electrical things that changed the whole understanding of life. that we know now. Industry 3.0, when automation came in, and
Mhm.
Industry 4.0 that we are living now is the digitalization world. And I'm saying this, and I'm making it probably like a technical lecture for the younger generation, is the life that we are living now is
Mhm.
completely different
Yeah.
than where the humanity lived 100 years ago.
Yes.
Okay, so innovation can write up the future of humanity. If your innovation stays within the lab,
Mhm.
then it's only going to impact or affect one person or a certain number of people.
Mhm.
But if you have your innovation make an industrial revolution, like what I said, like when you come with the electricity that changes the face of the world. Just remember, 120 years ago, New York that we know now, there was no cars in it. There were horses in Park Avenue. Okay, today we have electric cars. You know, 200 years ago there was no airplanes.
Mhm.
In my lifetime, 40 years ago, there was no internet. Okay, so we talk about all these innovations that change nuclear medical things. You know what I mean? I was at the Canadian Space Agency celebrating a milestone last week.
Yeah.
You know, the Canadian arm in the space. Those are things that are innovation. And of course, it starts with an invention, but if they have a bigger impact on humanity, then of course. So, and again, innovation can be as simple as changing your way of life. This innovation can be as simple as the way you manage your office. If it
Mhm.
changes your productivity, it changes your profitability. I'm talking from a business point of view.
Mhm.
Okay, if it changes how your workers who work in the company are they comfortable doing what they are doing,
Mhm.
that can be innovative in a very simplistic way, but it affects people. It affects their comfort. It affects their life. You know, their standard of life. It
Mhm.
affects their way they come to work. All these things can be called innovation because they impact people. So it can be smaller scale, medium scale, or a global scale, like the examples that I gave at the beginning. So that's my take on innovation. Is the impact on people one way or another.
Oh, I really appreciate that perspective. So, true innovation is not only about new technology, it's about creating value for people and society. So, IEEE has empowered engineers, innovators around the world for more than a century. So, Tom, as IEEE Canada past president, how can IEEE help engineer researchers, students, even young professionals transform their idea into meaningful real world impact?
Oh, that's a very that's a very sensitive question. Now, IEEE, it's probably the most exciting organization that I have dealt with or contributed to or volunteered in my whole life. And I volunteered in multiple engineering organizations and students organizations and humanitarian organizations. But IEEE have some sort of a special identity.
Mhm.
Okay, so for me, I look at IEEE an opportunity for engineers and scientists and technologists to make a change.
Mhm.
And during my service as a director at the board of IEEE, I was always speaking about how can we make a change,
Mhm.
and the change is happens by respecting and appreciating the new generations and giving them the opportunity to grow, giving them the opportunity uh, to flourish, to innovate, to continue the journey that my generation and the generations before started.
Mhm.
The only way can be is when we let it go. We, the my generation, has at a point to trust the new generation and give them the flag to go forward.
Mhm.
And like any other organization, when we grow, IEEE is a unique model. It's a very unique model. You have 500,000 members all over the world. It's a global organization. Okay, you have over 70% of the population is outside the United States, but it's run and managed in a North American mentality. We have to go be global. We global in the way we think, We global in the way we lead. Be global in the way we run our, if I want to call it, business, because the IEEE is not a business. In my opinion, IEEE is a mission. If
Mhm.
we look at it as a human mission, and know that my generation mission is to hand the flag to the next generation in the best possible way, then we should squeeze them in at the right time, not later on and say, look, they cannot do it. We have to do as early as possible, and not only small volunteers who deliver brochures in conferences or in events and so on, or probably sit in a committee listening. We have to pave the road for them to shadow us, to
Mhm.
take the lead, because they're going to take the lead if we like it or not. Okay, so it's an opportunity for the younger people. It's an opportunity for IEEE and IEEE leaders to see the fruit of their work,
Mhm.
rather than becoming an organization. And when you come with organization, and I've been in business for over 45 years, okay, with big business, when you grow, you become a bureaucracy. You get into politics, you get into financial growth, you get into all these challenges. But if you keep that spirit of
Mhm.
innovation, you keep that spirit of having new life, you keep a spirit of accepting new ideas and thinking and so on, then we have fulfilled our mission that our, what to call them, the founding fathers of IEEE thought when they started the IEEE. So, saying all of that, I have to repeat, I have never seen in my lifetime or read of an organization like IEEE, and we can always do better.
Wow. Thank you for highlighting the incredible opportunities IEEE offers as a mission, and professional communities truly play a vital role in nurturing future leaders. So, Tom, as technologies such as AI, such as digital transformation, Industry 4.0, Industry 5.0, and sustainable engineering continue to reshape our world. So, what leadership quality do you believe will be most essential for next generation of engineers and technology professionals?
Uh, Probably I've noticed so far in this discussion is as much as I focus on technology and so on, but I always look at the technology as a tool, as a mean of doing things or achieving things and so on. But the heart of the problem the heart of the issue is the people. Okay, and I want to say things because I'm getting too sensitive to the word leaders. Okay, because too many people, they use the word leaders in different perspectives, and leadership has nothing to do with the title. Okay, leadership can be in a small soccer team or football team, whichever way you call it. Okay, and there is 11 players, but you can see two or three of them, they are leaders by nature, and that's where it starts. Okay, there are leaders who were born leaders, and of course leadership can be also trained, but it's a combination of personality, charisma, and training and knowledge. And because these are all components in building, you can have the natural spirit, but if you don't nurture it, then you are going to fall behind. So it's a combination of all of this. But my point is, I'm seeing more and more people looking at the titles as an indicator or a sign of leadership. Remember always that the title can be given to you by a CEO or a politician or somebody who just like how you look,
Mhm.
or sometimes people put people in high positions for political correctness reasons. And the problem is, then we believe ourselves when we get that title, when we are a director or a VP or a COO, whatever. Then that's where the problem starts. Then when you start making mistakes that affect people or business or even health and safety in a negative way, because your ego becomes bigger than your capabilities. So I had to give this an introduction to the leadership. As leadership is it's more about decision making, in my opinion. It's more about how you make decisions. And I I'm a speaker, and I still a public speaker, and I'm giving more and more speeches about leadership more than my technical discipline, because that's where everybody is realizing that although we have all these people with all these PhDs and degrees and masters and MBAs and so on, but if you ask any board of directors of
Mhm.
any company or organization, you tell them, what is your biggest challenge? They say, we have lack of leadership. So where are all these people with all these titles? What are they doing? Because lack of leadership is related to the way of thinking. How are we thinking? Are we analytical in our thinking? Are we critical in our thinking? And I give a lot of lectures about analytical thinking and critical thinking. In IEEE Canada, I did a couple of them. I did in IEEE other regions as well. And I see people are saying, oh, we have never thought about it this way. And it's the way we think.
Mhm.
And it can stay with how are you going to pay your rent at the end of the month?
Mhm.
Or how are you going to run your company or run your organization, or how are you going to contribute in making decisions as a director at IEEE or a
Mhm.
president of IEEE Canada or IEEE USA or whatever. So the in my opinion, the
Mhm.
major capability of any leader is the way that capability of making decisions that are smart decisions, that
Mhm.
are logical decisions, that
Mhm.
are based decisions on facts and experiences, and have accumulated knowledge and experience into that. AI and the technologies and so on,
Mhm.
they are very, very helpful for human beings. But Einstein said, I fear one day that we human beings are going to be reliable on technology, that we are going to be ending up in a world of idiots. Because if we keep relying on technology that is made by human beings, then the human beings have to be much more smarter than the technology.
Mhm.
AI, everybody's talking about AI, and I'm not against it. I'm so excited like everybody else. It's another tool to make our life and our life as easier, as more productive, as more profitable, as more nourishing, as more higher, raising our standard and using the most precious thing, which is time, efficiently. Okay, what AI is doing is making decisions for us with minimum mistakes, hopefully, okay, in a relatively better time.
Mhm.
But it's just a technology, and I don't know if I'm going to see that in my lifetime. There will be something else. People are talking about quantum computing now and so on. And but that what's that going to do? It's going to make AI smarter. Okay, so it's all about technology, but the way of thinking has to be based on uh, common sense. Has to be made on logic. And if we create that in the brains of our new generations, if we convince them to communicate better, most importantly, if we convince them to listen better,
Mhm.
because when you listen, you know the facts, and then you can distinguish between the real facts and the fake facts, and then that leads in, if you know how to analyze things and
Mhm.
research things and criticize things. And you always ask, I call it the power of why. Ask always why, like a little kid. Okay. Why is this and why is that? And you know what's more important is we ask why not. And with every time that you say why, you should ask 10 times why not. And if you go through this process, which the smart computers are doing for us through AI, then we are going to come with the right decision.
Uh,
I'm sorry.
Thanks for explaining these qualities, and I'm sure that it will certainly help to prepare our future and future engineers and professionals to navigate an increasingly complex and rapidly evolving world. So many of our listeners are students, young professionals, and emerging engineers, what advice would you give them about building a career that combines technical excellence, lifelong learning, leadership, like you said, it's decision making skills, and service to society? Like, what advice you want to give to have a combination of all these skills?
The all all my life, when I'm asked this question
Mm-hmm,
in different stages of my life, there is one thing that continues to be accurate:
mm-hmm,
never ever give up.
mm-hmm,
For the new generation, because, and I'm seeing this, people giving up faster. Okay. um, there is always, we see the wall so high, but there is always a way to climb that wall. And I speak about that from experience. Okay. I've seen a lot of walls in my life. Okay. I lost my dad when I was 17. Okay. And all did well. All what I did was by myself. I have, I lived nights without sleep of what am I going to do tomorrow. But there is always something that called faith. And faith in whatever religion you believe in, if faith in superpowers or whatever. But most importantly, you have to have faith in yourself. And I see a lot of my students and my colleagues that I believe that they are probably some of the smartest people that I've ever met. And when I ask them to give a speech or to stand up in a panel, oh, I cannot do that. Okay. Lack of confidence is becoming more and more. What is the worst that can happen?
mm-hmm,
Okay, if you are seeing that wall so high, so what's the worst? You are not going to be able to climb it. You are not going to be able to climb it anyway.
mm-hmm,
Okay, so never ever give up. But with the changes of values in life that I've seen through the years, there's one other advice that I'm recently giving to the people.
mm-hmm,
Never ever believe anything you hear without checking it twice and three times and four times and five times. Because uh, I tend to trust people so much, and a lot of people around me, they say, "Tom, you are very smart. How come that you trust people that much?" I tend that because I grew up on trusting people. I made business on a shake of hand
mm-hmm,
in my time. I hired people on a napkin in a cafeteria or a pub at one times. So I've done it. It's not I'm talking about. I have done it because I trust people by nature. But now that I'm at this stage of my life, unfortunately, I learned to double check and triple check and quadruple check every word that I hear. Okay. And that's easy. You can, so I don't say don't trust people.
mm-hmm,
You have to keep the trust, because otherwise we are living in a jungle. Okay. But my problem is for you not to get into depression in your life. Double check everything you hear. Double check and especially today with AI and with all these technologies and all the videos and the audios that we are watching on the social media, you don't know if it's real or it's not.
mm-hmm,
Okay, so be careful about anything you believe, because I see people repeating sentences like parrots that they have heard in social. They and they are smart people, and they let people make fun of them because they're not digesting what they hear or what they see and so on. So that's for the new generation. If you want to grow up, double check. If you are running a small department or a larger department or an organization, never ever make a decision based on an advice only from people.
mm-hmm,
Take the advice, cherish that, enjoy it, but also analyze it with the critical thinking and the analytical thinking that I keep talking about. Okay, these ideas, second opinion is always important,
mm-hmm,
but you have to get the third opinion and so on, because life, with the complications of life, decision making becomes a little bit more difficult. Okay, never ever copy and paste. Okay, okay, I have to think about. So I can say a lot of, but these are the most important things. I can elaborate on this. Uh, Double checking and research all the time with all the time you have before you make a decision.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. And I'm sure our audience will find your advice both practical and inspiring. Your journey beautifully demonstrates how vision, innovation, and service can create lasting impacts. Like you have initiated very good programs at Siemens, also like in Siemens Academy. So it is not the creating lasting impact only for organization, but it's across community, about across future generations of engineers. Now it's thank you for sharing that, and now it's time for one of my favorite segment of the podcast, that is our rapid fire round. I will ask series of short questions, and we would love to hear the first thought that comes to your mind. uh, shall we begin?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, one word that best describes your leadership style.
Um, n- there's lots of words I can use, but I think the most accurate one is being decisive.
Hmm. What is
I'm
your
very decisive. I don't let loose ends. I have to get the results done.
okay. What's your personal success mantra?
I always can do better or be better. I always challenge myself. I can do better or be better.
A book
Yeah.
that has influenced your leadership journey.
The- There is a book that and I'm sorry for the long answer here, but I have to mention it because not many people have probably read that book. But it's a legendary book. I read it in Arabic when I was probably 10,
Oh.
and I probably read it 30, 40 times after in Arabic and English and so on. And every time I read it, I learn something new. It's called the Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. I don't know if you heard about that.
Mm.
And the wisdom of this one, it's about an old man and fisherman that it's about what we talked about, this challenges and so on,
Mhm.
and fishing, and it's a long journey in the sea by an old man and so on. But the wisdom from the best, and I've read a lot of like follow up on that book and so on, which I love it all in all. I loved it when I was 10 years, and I loved it when it became 15. And I last time I read it was about a few years ago,
Mhm.
and I read comments about it because and the wisdom that I hear from that is a man or a human being can be destroyed, but they cannot be defeated,
Mm.
because defeat is in here, is in your brain.
Yes.
And people, and if you read that story, maybe I'm convincing you to go and buy that book. But the it's true. It's true. This book probably was written 70 years ago. I think it was written in the 50s,
Mm.
okay, or maybe earlier. I'm not sure, but I read it in the 60s. So uh, it's lots of I've seen lots of people who have made comments on it. And I believe in that.
Mm.
I've been many times. I thought that I was destroyed, but I've never been defeated.
Wow.
Yeah.
One habit that has contributed most of your success. Most
Sorry.
of one habit that has
Oh,
contributed.
habit. Oh,
Yeah.
this is well. It started as reading.
Mhm.
There's no day passed in my life without reading at least 10, 15, 20 minutes. Well, now I using technology. I'm using YouTube and videos and podcasts and so on. But reading is like the river that keep the fresh knowledge in your head. And I read in all topics, not only engineering. I read in everything. So I'm more encyclopedic personality. I want to know, and I like to know anything that comes in my hands. So that's very good for leadership as well. If you know a little bit about everything rather than everything about one bit. To be a leader, that's important.
And one quality every future engineer, leader, or future engineering professional should develop.
I think I've answered that in details before. Is the thinking, is the uh, analytical thinking and the critical thinking with all the components and the spices that come with it. Yeah,
Wise, 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 wise.
yeah, yeah.
One emerging technology that excites you most.
There are too many, but I'm going to talk about something that I worked on, and
Mhm.
that was probably the latest technologies that or emerging technologies that I really worked on, and I was excited and enjoyed is the digital twins.
Mm.
And I still speak about it. I had a speech about it like 2 months ago. Um, I just love the idea, and I worked on it in different stages of my life,
Mhm.
in different ways, but the principle is the same, is the digital twinning of things. Now, of course, the technologies is making it happening.
Mhm.
Okay, in the 90s and early 2000s, when I was in research, we used to call it hardware in the loop.
Mhm.
Now they where we could test things, the real hardware with the software at the same time with hybrid computers and so on. Today, the digital twinning is a complete image of and you can do that in multiple disciplines. It started with the industry, started with space, and now they are using it in transportation, widely used and then you can do it in everything,
Okay.
which can change. Yeah.
IEEE in one sentence.
Ooh, as I said, IEEE in one sentence is a big opportunity in that's my opinion, of course. Many people may not agree. It's a big opportunity to be harvested.
Mhm.
It's probably the biggest opportunity that we can harvest as much more fruit from.
Mhm. And what legacy would you like to leave for future generation of engineers, professionals?
Uh, and again, maybe I've answered this, but if I can put it in words, is values are more important than wealth. If you keep your values, if you keep your honesty, if you don't compromise your integrity, uh, I think I have managed to go through the sea in my life, in the journey with all. I probably made more enemies than possible friends if I had accepted the norm and the hypocrisy and all this stuff and the political correctness. I, as much as I could, I did not compromise my values and my beliefs, and
Mhm.
I said things as they are. Uh, I hope that my mentees and my colleagues and so on would agree with what I'm saying, uh, because I think it's very valuable. And now I'm this stage of my life. I never regret that I have stood up to my values and stood up to a lot of temptations for a better job or a better salary or a better title or whatever. I'm much happier achieving what I have achieved and
Mhm.
also keeping my values, because you can fool anybody in life, but you cannot fool your families. The way your family look at you is very, very important.
Wonderful. Those were thoughtful and inspiring responses. Thank you for sharing them with us, and we are really proud of you. Tom, as we conclude today's conversation, what final message would you like to leave with our listeners, um, and the power of professional communities like IEEE to create positive change in the world?
Um, I,
Again.
I think, yeah, again, because it's I think again, I reached a stage of my life. My family say don't say I'm old, but I am. I've seen a lot in my life. Um, Life is too short. Life is really too short. And after I achieved what I have achieved, and I'm very, very proud of what I achieved, it's more about giving. It's not about taking. The more you give, the more, and I'm not trying to be a philosopher here, but I've lived it. I've always been happier giving to people. Volunteering is one way of giving. Okay,
Mhm.
volunteering, mentoring, coaching, uh, giving cannot not necessarily is money and funding, but one thing I'm very proud of, and when I could not give what the people want, is
Mhm.
give them hope. And I think even my religious beliefs are all about hope. Because without hope, we this world would have been very very hard to live in.
Mhm.
It's I speak from my personal life. I speak from personal life of people around me that I'm proudly and what do you call it? And with all modesty, I contributed by just giving them hope, and I could have given them better.
Mhm.
That changed their life. That give them the power to move forward.
Mhm.
And it's very important. It's very important. We are living with each other, and you cannot live without others. Okay, so collaboration with other people, paving the road. We are all bridges for everybody else to step on us. And if God chose me to be a bridge for somebody else, I think I'm the most blessed person. So that's what I really believe in. I encourage all the people around me. I encourage my family, my kids, and hopefully my grandkids when I see them, if this can happen, uh, that this is the secret of life. Is the more you give, the more blessed you are. The more you take, the more aggressive and greedy you become, and that's a sin.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Tom. I think it's a wonderful message, wonderful and wonderful message for our audience to carry forward. So, on behalf of IEEE Canada and entire IEEE community, I would like to sincerely thank you for joining us today. It's my privilege to hear your remarkable journey, your leadership experiences, and your vision for future of engineering and technology. Your commitment to innovation, education, especially mentorship and professional service continues to inspire engineers, technology professionals around the world. I am confident that today's conversation will encourage our students, young professionals, educators, researchers, and future leaders to pursue excellence with purpose, to use as technology, as a tool, as a force for positive change. To everyone watching, thank you for joining us for another episode of Tech Talks with IEEE Canada, stories that inspired change. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, share, and subscribe to IEEE Canada YouTube channel for more inspiring conversations with global leaders in engineering, technology, research, and innovation. Until next time, keep learning, keep leading, keep innovating, and most importantly, keep creating real impact. I am Inderpreet. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in our next episode of Tech Talks with IEEE Canada. Thank you once again, Tom.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks. Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye.